Africa, we know, is known for its unstable electricity supply. As a matter of fact, we heard Sikanati Manchancha today saying that there might be stage 1 load shedding because of the pressure that the weather's been putting on the system, and obviously we've got outdated equipment, and even the new stuff that we've built, well, they've got issues. You're always having things break down. So hopefully we'll get Jan Oberholzer on a bit later, Chief Operations Officer, to talk to us about the latest, right? But the one thing I love, though, is the fact that this challenge has driven us to go into renewable energy. And I've got a friend who's using solar, for example, and his house is off the grid at least 80% of the time. I've got another friend who's 100% off the grid. It's costly, but you just need to sit there, look at the cost, and look at the eventual payback. And also, when I talk about the Breede Valley, right, we know that the Breede Valley is located here in the Western Cape. Places like Worcester, Ceres, there's Bonnievale, Montague, Tulbagh. They're widely recognized for being a top tourist region. We know that. A lot of us visit there. They're also the largest Western Cape fruit and wine producing valley, but more recently, they are a large, or the home of large, commercial operations that have been putting us on the renewable energy map. So to tell you more about that, we've got Henry van Eetveld, who is a solar and storage consultant at Energy Partners. And let's talk about that Breede River Valley. Henry, thank you for your patience. Good to have you on the show. Why Breede Valley? And what is it about the Breede Valley that makes it such a perfect place to go renewable?
Good morning, Kino, and thanks for having me on the show.
Pleasure, man.
The Breede River Valley stands out as many areas in South Africa as a prime solar location for a few specific reasons, most of which has to do with the sun, of course. So the same factors that makes it a good area for agriculture, growing fruits and grapes, is the fact that there's a lot of sun hours over the year combined with good rainfall for parts of the year. And the sun is, of course, crucially important to increase the yield that you've got on a solar panel, which improves the business case. And the rain actually is important to clean the solar panels once in a while, and which in that case then also increases the yield that you get from the solar panel. So in that area, there's the weather gap that the mountains form. So as the clouds push over from the Cape, less clouds make it to that part of the country, which means that relatively to just on the other side of the mountain, they've got an increased solar yields, which gives them that edge on the business case. And I think that forms part of it, but it's also the economical climate that's favorable in that area, with relatively high tariffs and a lot of electricity consumption for all of these agri industries. The municipality has been quite amenable to reflect this in having specific processes for companies to register solar PV systems and feedback rates. So I think all of that comes together, making that region very favorable.
We also have some very poor people in that area. So how does an operation like this actually benefit some of the poorer communities in that area?
So operations that we're talking about in the commercial sense frees up capital for the companies. And I think especially in the agri sector, in these tough economic environments or the climates we're in, reducing operational costs means that there's more money to pay salaries. That's the bottom line. That's where we try and help when we get into the conversation with the clients, is if you free up more cash on your electricity spend, that's a bottom line saving. So that can be redistributed to pay salaries for the multitude of people in that area who help with the supply chain on picking fruit in the lower level or in the large factories. And I think that's hopefully where the trickle-down effect of these systems take place.
And what about skills development? I asked these questions. I hosted, when we still could all arrive and sit 10 centimeters away from each other. I hosted a CSI conference with a company involved in renewable energy, and there was this big focus on skills development for people in that area, especially where we are today with COVID. There is a massive need for skills development in a lot of these areas where people can be taken out of menial jobs where they get very little pay and probably don't get looked after as much as they should be, right?
Yes.
What type of contribution do you guys do from that perspective?
So we've been linking up with a company called GIZ who do these type of skill courses specifically to upskill people into the renewable energy sector. We're in the process now. They're a German company, and they've got a big foothold with the local municipalities in South Africa, developing these courses. And we're in the process now of working with them to identify the different markets that have a need for them. And it's all over the industry. So they can be from in the plumbing sector or electricians or people skilled for solar panel installation or operation and maintenance of these panels and systems. And I think that's where you really need to look at the entire supply chain to see the real value of the industry.
Absolutely. And I think it's important. It's good that these industries actually add value the way that they do. But, so you were talking about business models and business cases and all those other stuff, and then you get the ordinary person who sits in the car who doesn't care much about a business case, but they do care about the cost. Right. What type of technologies are currently at play? Is there, and we have to then do that juxtaposition between what Eskom charges, and yes, it's erratic, but what Eskom charges and what the cost of using solar or wind, etc., is in comparison.
All right. So when we talk about solar, specifically in the region of Breeder River, where we had a lot of these projects, we talk about outsourced solar energy. And in this case, it's the model is called a power purchase agreement. And so that's what we've seen a lot of strong uptick with clients, because power purchase agreement means that you as a client, you pay for the electricity per kilowatt hour or per unit of energy, which makes it much easier to compare to the rates that you're usually paying for municipal electricity or Eskom electricity. And it also enables the client not to spend any capital upfront to have these solar savings. So in that case, we and other companies are employing state-of-the-art technology to increase and maximize the solar yields for that particular building and its roof. And we sell the electricity at rates usually 50% lower than what the municipality offers. And that enables the clients to save directly on their electricity bill while they're using power during the day. If you look at capital expenditure upfront for if it's an outright purchase agreement, the paybacks over the last year and it's been steadily dropping. There's always fluctuations with the dollar and the euro being the prime currencies that affect solar PV costs. But there's also been reductions in panel prices, and I think that's one of the main drivers for these larger systems is just outright panel costs. Yeah. And it's been very interesting to see how the fluctuations globally with COVID has impacted, because China, being by far the largest supplier of panels globally, had a massive oversupply at some point due to global lockdown, which had a knock-on effect. And it was the same time where the dollar was running away into, I think, close to 18 Rand at a certain point, and the two factors were cancelling them out. So paybacks have come down probably now to 4 years or less on an asset that's a 20 to 25-year asset. So definitely has always been, but now especially becoming almost a no-brainer on the side of investing into the energy.
Yeah, I'm just trying to save up enough bucks to just take my place totally off the grid. I mean, it costs you around 250,000 Rand. If you're going to talk about just normal home solar systems, around 250, 300, maybe even 400 for an average, say, 4-bedroom house. Anyway, but Henry, great chatting to you. That is Henry van Heptwalt, who's the senior solar, at least, and storage consultant at